yes. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another edition of Rotoworld Live, served by Applebee's, the show where we get up at 6:30 a.m. Eastern to watch our English soccer team give up 4 goals on a Sunday morning. My name is Josh Norris, joined here by Patrick Doherty, not John Daigle, and Cliff Kingsbury is joining us today. Cliff, how you doing, Hayden Winks?
Yeah, just enjoying the bye week, just trying to get Andy Isabella involved post-bye. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald's just been so good. It's just so hard to get him off the field for Andy Isabella.
Cliff, I got to say, that shot that we got of you in the preseason versus the shot now, have you moved? It looks like a different space here, more like a college dorm right now.
Yeah, definitely downsized. Just had to do it.
You need a focus during the season. So, get more modest accommodations, figure out how to keep featuring Kenyon Drake over Chase Edmonds. You need to be focused.
Got it. I love it. Is this going to be like a bit for the entire episode, Hayden, or should we just,
It's actually pretty comfortable.
Okay, good.
I did not. I got to admit, I did not expect it.
By the way, Pat and I are going as 20-year-old college kids today. Our pastels for tailgating. That's what we're doing.
Fraternity.
I almost the Catholic Student Union.
I almost put on a sweatshirt as Daigle. I couldn't grow a beard.
All right. So again, today is all about you. It's to help you set your optimal lineups for this important Week 8 showdown. It's November, basically. So that means that we have weather alerts. And I'm going to turn to Hayden Winks himself to talk us through the weather. Hayden, looking at it, the Raiders and Browns game, the line has moved from 3-1. I don't know if that's weather factor there. Green Bay and Minnesota, 7 to 5.5. Cincinnati and Tennessee, 4.5 to 7 points. People are nervous how they should move and adjust the ranks and adjust their lineups accordingly. What would your advice be for them?
I think there is reason to downgrade some players, but you don't want to overreact. I don't think you want to double dip. So we're seeing the game totals move down. And I think that's already enough to kind of reset expectations. My research and some other people's research shows that completion percentage dips about like 2 or 3 percentage points when there's more wind. And also teams pass the ball maybe like 2 or 3% less in the wind. So you have to kind of use your judgment, look at what's actually happening. But I don't want to overreact because some stadiums are built differently. If there's a taller stadium, the wind's not as affected. It depends on the wind direction. There's a lot of variables. It's not as simple as just, hey, there's 20-mile-an-hour winds. You must downgrade players by like 20%. I think it's way more complicated than that. My biggest thing is I wouldn't completely overreact. If you want to break a tie because of wind, go for it. Do not sit Devontae Adams because of the wind or something like that.
Dagsy, how are you handling it?
Like Hayden said, I am not overreacting. I'm not basing my decisions off of it when it comes to big picture, like players in the top 20 at their position compared to players at the top 40. I'm not benching a guy suddenly for this player well down in the ranks because of wind and weather. We just don't know. Even a place like Cleveland right now playing the Raiders that the winds are expected to be whipping, I don't even know what that means. Like, does that mean consistently throughout the game? Every single play, does that matter? Or does it calm down? And if they throw a touchdown like during that play, suddenly wind doesn't matter? I just think it's a lot to do about nothing, to be quite honest.
Well, let's get into the start set questions again. That is the crux of the show. Get them in the chat on Periscope, on YouTube, on Twitch, all those good places. And our wonderful production crew will feed them to us, feed them to me, and I will feed them to Patrick Doherty. We'll start here, Pat, with a quarterback question. QQ Bill, do I start Patrick Mahomes or Ryan Tannehill?
Oh, my God. I mean, back-to-back, I have Mahomes one spot ahead. I mean, the only concern is, of course, is that they destruct the Jets too quickly. It's just, can you really live with yourself if you bench Patrick Mahomes? I mean, I guess you can. I guess we have to make those cold, calculated decisions, but I mean, it's essentially a tie, and in my world, the tie goes to Patrick Mahomes. So I am going with Patrick Mahomes. And Tannehill, he's in a wind game. It's slightly less concerning there. I agree with all of John's thoughts about wind, by the way, too. It's just like 20-mile-per-hour sustained winds, you take notice, and that's what some of these games are at. But even there, it's like so many quarterbacks are playing in the wind. How do you decide who to desperately drop? How do you decide who to desperately raise?
Well, I think this is an easy way to do it. And we talked about this on the preview show. While the game might get out of hand in the Chiefs and the Jets, in order for it to get out of hand, Patrick Mahomes has to have a major factor in that. And they have an over 33 team total in this game. And the total, as Hayden alluded to, of the Titans and Bengals game has dropped from 55.5 all the way down to 49. So both of those team totals aren't even close to what the Chiefs offer. So I'm with you, Pat. Patrick Mahomes is the easy answer. All right, Daigle, we get Jalen Reagor back in our life. What do you think about from Craw, AJ Green or Jalen Reagor in the flex here in week 8?
That's already tough. With these injuries like Jalen Reagor, Dallas Goddard, if you have a player that I think is ranked similarly, like AJ Green, like Gronk when it comes to Goddard, you just play the guy who's healthy. Honestly, maybe AJ Green's not even healthy. Who knows? But I would play AJ Green in this case because we just don't know. You have the guy on your bench now. Let him sit on your bench. Hopefully he goes off because that means he's suddenly a valuable piece that you can start next week. But I'm going AJ Green. I'm not playing Goddard if I have someone very similar to him. I'm just keeping it easy. Don't overthink it.
I think it makes sense. We always talk about and advise against starting skill position players off multi-week injuries. And in Jalen Reagor's absence, Travis Fulgham has emerged as the number 1 target. And like you said, Dallas Goddard comes back. So that's now going to an offense where we don't know what's going to happen to, well, there are many more pieces now, and especially ones that are kind of more established than Jalen Reagor are. All right, Hayden, over to you. Another player who's getting back into our lives is Tevin Coleman from Wazless. Tevin Coleman or Devin Singletary in full point PPR?
I think you just have to stick with Devin Singletary just because, like, that's a certainty. I think him and Zach Moss are getting pretty even work now. Last week, the snaps were about equal. The just usage in general is equal. But I think I would rather take the floor with Devin Singletary and in positive game scripts. We think that the Bills should beat the Patriots.
Pat, we have been talking about this Ravens backfield all week long because it is finally not a trio. It is a duo with Mark Ingram down. So which one do you have more faith in? Because it looks like Travis Gord has both on his roster in Gus Edwards versus J.K. Dobbins and half-point PPR.
Well, let's hold John Harbaugh's beer on not making this a trio because, Justice Hill could stunningly reappear today. We talked about it several podcasts this week. It would stand to reason that a bye week adjustment for the Ravens would be to get J.K. Dobbins more involved, who's making some noise as a pass catcher. We know it's huge upside in early downs, but heading into the bye, Gus Edwards had out-carried J.K. Dobbins 30-15 over the Ravens' 3 previous games. So I couldn't rank J.K. Dobbins ahead of Gus Edwards, and I just can't start him over Gus Edwards today. You can gamble maybe that the Ravens are ready to make the adjustment, make the switch, but that's just a total guess at this point. And the usage squarely pointed to Gus Edwards heading into the bye.
Daigle, do you think this is game script based? Like, if the Ravens are a neutral or positive game script, then there's going to be more Gus Edwards than J.K. Dobbins. But if they're having to work from behind or want to get their pass catchers out of the backfield more involved, then that's obviously more J.K. Dobbins than Gus Edwards.
I also think we know J.K. Dobbins will have the passing game role, and that's very valuable, getting those targets. I understand that Lamar Jackson has targeted running backs in the league's 3rd lowest rate, but I also think throwing to Gus Edwards and Mark Ingram is different than throwing to J.K. Dobbins, who he knows is explosive. 5 of his 11 catches this year have gone for 10-plus yards. I think he could still – I agree with Pat that Edwards will out-touch Dobbins today, but I still think Dobbins will outproduce Edwards on fewer touches because he's just that more explosive. So, therefore, I am starting Dobbins.
Hayden, we talk about this game a lot on the preview show. I mean, it truly is the game of Sunday. You can see it going in either direction. Just from big picture standpoint, which direction do you see it going? And I'll flip it here. We don't have a question yet on it. But, like, what's the confidence level in starting someone like Chase Claypool, who last week wasn't nearly as involved as Juju Smith-Schuster, as Deontay Johnson? Now he faces arguably the best secondary that the Steelers have faced all season long.
Yeah, both of these defenses are very good, but the thing is they're actually playing good teams, and we haven't seen the Steelers or the Ravens play good teams this year. And when they have, the pace has been up, they're passing more, the play volume is up, and all the guys that deserve to get the touches actually get the touches. It's not going and funneling down to the garbage time heroes. So I think that the Ravens-Steelers game is a good game to bet the over. I think that's a good game to get your fantasy guys in. Even though the total isn't quite as high as some of the other games, I think that there's reason to believe that the studs are going to get the ball here.
All right, Pat, I have to start you with a difficult question on this go-round. From Brad Skinker, Damian Harris or David Montgomery? We know David Montgomery is facing the New Orleans Saints, and we also know what David Montgomery puts on the NFL field. Meanwhile, Damian Harris, this Patriots offense just isn't working, and they should be, at least in my opinion, in heavy negative game script against the Buffalo Bills.
I mean, we know I'm philosophically opposed to David Montgomery, but you can't bench those touches. You just can't do it. And the Patriots will be – I mean, I think even in negative game script, the Patriots are about to become one of those teams that runs no matter what the score is. Not exactly a bold prediction, seeing as they essentially have no receivers and they have a running quarterback. I think we're going to see some like Chip Kelly 49ers action the rest of the season, I think, where they're just running, kind of like the Bengals in the second half of last season. But there's just not enough. I mean, this is still a 3-man backfield. The touches could change any given week. And even though I look for reasons to bench David Montgomery, Damian Harris is not one of those reasons.
I'll double this one up real quickly to you, Daigle. I mean, you easily start Deontay Johnson, even if he was hobbled last week over Dave Montgomery, right?
Yeah, and he even came out. First of all, he went back in the game later on, but then also he came out afterwards and said it was just like a little nicked up. He got a little ankle injury. Wednesday, he did not practice, but that has been his normal regimen throughout the year. So that was not shocking at all. Back at practice Thursday and Friday, he's fully healthy. Will he leave injured again? Maybe, but that's not the reason why you would sit him. He's still a better play than Montgomery, who may not even have a 5-yard run in his bag.
All right. This one piqued my interest, Hayden Winks, because it's part of the FFPC tournament. Start Henry Ruggs or CeeDee Lamb. We talked about the weather potentially with wind, probably the biggest factor in Raiders and Browns today. Derek Carr has been a lot better than I think a lot of us expected him to be. But still, Henry Ruggs is not as involved as Nelson Aguilar and other pieces on that offense. We believe he should get more manufactured touches. Maybe that happens today. Or you can go with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb, who now has Ben DiNucci as his quarterback. Which one?
Yeah, and CeeDee Lamb's going to be facing a backup slot corner. I think that he's the better play here. I of course, you have to downgrade everybody, but if you have a bad offensive line, you have a nobody quarterback, I think that he would be throwing to a slot receiver more than like a Michael Gallup down the field. So I think that with negative game script, the better player, I think, just CeeDee Lamb in general, I think I would go him over Ruggs.
Nice. Josh has never heard of the concept of a player better than Henry Ruggs, by the way. So that might have been
same here. It's pretty close. It's pretty close.
I would take. By the way, I'd take Ruggs' ceiling. It's very close. So I would just take the floor. That's fine. I'm fine with it. Instead, take the big touchdown potential. The fake accent is more fun than what DiNucci's actually going to be on the field.
I'm so guilty of that too, Pat. Just watch what he does in the final 10 weeks of the season, Pat. Or 8 weeks of the season, whatever it is. All right, let's move on. Speaking of the Vegas backfield, Pat, Josh Jacobs, who I would say the rushing production has not been there, but he is far more involved in the passing game than he has been in the past. Would you pivot off of those touches that he offers you against this Cleveland Browns defensive front over to someone like Justin Jackson, who it seems like we still don't have a grasp of the backfield touches there in the Chargers?
Yeah, I mean, you can't go from someone who's guaranteed to get 15 to 20 touches to someone who's in a uncertain committee and who still might flirt with 15 touches. But in the Raiders, at the very least, the game script won't get nuked this week. And, we've got hurricane force winds in Cleveland. So the Raiders are going to have to stick with the running game. And, you can't pivot off those touches for Josh Jacobs, even though it's been pretty much a rough season, not a lost season for Josh Jacobs, but it's got banged up early in the season. It just hasn't come together the way we would like it. But Justin Jackson's not enough an alternative.
All right, Daigle, 2 of your favorite players in the entire football league. I don't know that. I'm just going to put that on you. From Todd Crowley on Facebook, Myles Gaskin or Brandon Ayuk in half-point PPR?
I'm taking Ayuk in the better matchup. Myles Gaskin will still have the same usage he had before the bye. Jordan Howard inactive again today, but a tough spot against the Rams defense, an unknown spot with Tua under center, whereas Ayuk is stepping into a wide receiver one role against one of the league's worst defenses, missing their starting safety and top corner.
That was a sprint of 15 minutes, by the way. I mean, I don't think we took a single breath in those first 15 minutes. Again, all of you out there, you can continue to leave your questions in the chats, wherever you're watching, on Periscope, on YouTube, on Twitch, and the production team will funnel them over to us. I also want to point you in the direction to Patrick Daugherty's rankings, which are on the front of the site. Let's pull them up right now.
Now include Allen Robinson.
I'm looking at the quarterback ones right now, Pat. I mean, Lamar Jackson there as quarterback 5. We saw a little bit of that special sauce prior to their bye week against the Philadelphia Eagles, but he really hasn't hit that quarterback 5 mark much, if at all, this entire season, Pat. What's the confidence level?
I mean, it's shaky because especially it's a very tough matchup. I mean, if anything, we're hoping like a game where the Ravens will actually have to play for 60 minutes offsets the tough matchup. But the first tough matchup for Lamar Jackson, he got erased off the face of the earth. But he was maybe, a little gimpy kind of heading into the bye until he finally got a little healthy in the final pre-bye game, had a 100-yard rushing game. Hopefully Lamar is more involved back as a rusher. Not more involved, is Lamar as a rusher today? They're going to need his legs to win this divisional slugfest. And we need to see it today, even in the tough matchup. Like, this is a really big game for Lamar Jackson, like going forward, both in fantasy and real life. But he still maintains that top 5-6 fantasy benefit of the doubt.
And just looking at the running back rankings, we have some fill-ins in Jamal Williams, Boston Scott, Gio Bernard, who we've all seen produce in these roles before. And all three of those backs are in the top 12 with Jonathan Taylor at number 5. Look at that. Finally, let's hope for it, Pat. All their prayer is paying off. All right, let's keep it moving on over. Speaking of backfields, Hayden, J.K. Dobbins or Jermichael Hasty in half-point PPR. Are we sure that we know how this 49ers backfield is going to shake out with McKinnon, with Coleman, and Jermichael Hasty to start them over J.K. Dobbins?
We don't know. I think that Hasty might have slightly more upside, possibly, but I think the floor is way different. I still think that there's a path to upside for J.K. Dobbins. The post-buy rookie bump, I'm a believer in it, and I think that J.K. Dobbins he's just a better player than Gus Edwards. And I think that if you're paying a second-round price tag on a player, you have to get him involved if your starting running back is sidelined. So I think that there's reason to believe that J.K. Dobbins sets season highs in all categories this week. I think that he's probably a low-end RB2, high-end RB3, somewhere around there.
We're trademarking 2 things for Hayden Winks this year: pop-in models and post-buy rookie bump.
Love it. I love it. If you're known for anything other than those 2 things, Hayden Winks, I would be surprised.
Also 7 columns on Monday and Tuesday.
More coming.
And a whole weather report for the entire offseason. Let's do it. All right. Adam A. Perez, who joins us often on these shows. Daigle, this one's to you, a quarterback question. Justin Herbert or Josh Allen? He's a little worried about Josh Allen's bad weather. And if so, Justin Herbert has been the late-round quarterback dynamo that none of us expected.
Funny enough, he just tweeted that question to me as well. So I'm going to just answer right here for you, Adam. It is Justin Herbert, top 4 in fantasy points per game since he went under center. And yes, even if Josh Allen has a premier early season Josh Allen game, the fact is Justin Herbert's unbenchable right now. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league in another terrific spot. The Chargers changed their offense altogether last week, suddenly going to a league high rate of throws on early downs. So yes, I am going right back to Justin Herbert. I can't imagine benching him.
All right, Pat, as the tenured member of this staff, here is a question from the one and only Ed Williams on Twitch. I have to beat Josh Norris, that's me, this week. A returning Dallas Goddard or Jerick McKinnon's tired legs and half PPR? Pat, before you reveal your answer, might I suggest maybe not giving the correct answer? Maybe you go with bros before bosses. Think about that. Just think about that one before answering and which side you really want to lean on here.
As someone who could not be more proud to work for NBC, I will give Ed Williams the correct answer of Dallas Goddard and his return. And I wanted 1 or 2 more reports on Dallas Goddard's usage. Dallas is going to be out there for his exact normal role, but I think that probably will be the case. Sometimes I think we overrate, this quarterback loves to throw to tight ends. I think it's pretty safe to say Carson Wentz loves to throw to tight ends when he had a 6-catch, 80-yard performance with Richard Rodgers last week. It could be the number 1 target, has the matchup of a lifetime. I'm not really buying the 49ers explanations on Jarek. We're just getting him some rest. How much rest? Is he going to rest again today? I've got Jarek very faded in the rankings, and I had to jam Dallas Goddard back into the top 8 at tight end. So, as someone, I want to run this company one day. You start Dallas Goddard.
It's race season, Pat. Did you hear that? It's race season. All right. Let's move it over to Dean Smith. First, Dean, do not give up 4 goals on a Sunday morning and ruin it for me. Second, this one goes over to Hayden Winks. Sit one of these names, okay? Amari Cooper, Tyler Boyd, or Robert Woods.
I'm definitely starting Tyler Boyd. I think that he's a really strong wide receiver 2 play. Then it comes down to Amari Cooper, Robert Woods. I think I'll sit Robert Woods. I think that Amari Cooper projects for more volume. And we just seen the presence of Josh Reynolds in the tight ends. That I think that there's a lower floor with Robert Woods, which pains me to say that I would love Robert Woods. But I think that Amari Cooper, even though there's all the problems with the offense, he's still probably going to see 8+ targets.
I think I'm much more down on the entire Cowboy situation than everyone, honestly. I just cannot trust anyone with Ben DiNucci. I'm not trusting any of these guys. So in this situation where all of these players should be top 20, Cooper's the one with the actual question mark in his situation, so I'm just going to bench him personally.
Have you guys been grinding Ben DiNucci college film over in the Silva Sanctuary this week, Daigle, in expectation of this game?
He runs a lot. He's actually kind of fun to watch his college tape, honestly.
It was James Madison, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was.
Don't look up his Pittsburgh stats, though, before he transferred. Right. James out there. Not great.
All right, let's move on over. Let's do this one, Pat. I feel like I keep giving you Jarvis Landry questions, but maybe that's just my imaginations. From Gianni, Jarvis Landry or Scotty Miller in standard scoring? We know that Chris Godwin is out, and Scotty Miller seems to currently have the best rapport with Tom Brady. Is that where you want to go, despite maybe Jarvis Landry seeing more targets in this game?
I feel like I want to say Scotty Miller, but I mean, I had Jarvis Landry higher in the rankings. We know that without Odell Beckham, we should finally see increased usage for Jarvis Landry. It could be almost double the targets. That doesn't mean a whole lot in this offense, but I have Jarvis Landry ranked higher. I have him ranked as like a high-end wide receiver 3. I just worry if his role might not really change because he's not healthy enough for a bigger role. And he's someone I'm very interested to see this week. Jarvis Landry, I think the floor is still higher than Scotty Miller. It's weird to say Scotty Miller might have more ceiling, but he probably has more ceiling this week. But I think Jarvis's floor is still very safe. I'm just worried that the role might not expand as much as it would under normal circumstances. Those normal circumstances being Jarvis 100% healthy.
Hayden, turning on over to you. One of the players who has let us down potentially more than anyone this season is Hollywood Brown. Peter Mercier knows this extremely well. So sit one of these names: Dallas Goddard, Hollywood Brown, T. Higgins. Which one?
I think more times than not, you're going to be sitting the tight end when you have these like flex type questions. I think that's certainly the case coming off injury. Marquise Brown, I think that this is a good week to actually play him. The Steelers corners are slow. They've been beaten deep. We're going to see Lamar Jackson probably pass more than he has in previous weeks. I think that this game should be tight. And I think that T. Higgins has been pretty dang good and seeing good usage. So I think that he's at least a wide receiver 3 every single week. I would just sit the tight end here.
I love it.
I'm going to jump in. Would you guys start Marquise Brown or Deontay Johnson? I am really sweating this. And
Deontay.
I have Deontay in there.
I think it's Deontay, unfortunately, yeah.
Don't ask me any questions about Deontay Johnson.
That's a good point.
Right. Someone blurb that. Cliff does not like Deontay Johnson. All right. We move on. Daigle, over to you. Omar Gomez, who also joins the show quite frequently. Sit one. So sit one of these names. Which one are you least confident in? Boston Scott, Jamal Williams, big workloads, keep them. Adam Thielen, Kenny Galladay, Travis Fulgham.
Pat, do you agree that it's Travis Fulgham?
It is. I'm sad, but we still think he's probably the quote unquote worst player in this group. You have the variable of Dallas Goddard returning, you have the variable of Jalen Reagor returning. So even in the great matchup, even though he's 5 catches, 10 targets, 70 yards, 3 straight games, I think Travis Fulgham hasn't quite earned that benefit of the doubt yet.
And Adam Thielen, everyone's concerned about Jair Alexander shadowing, but the thing is, Thielen has only played 3 more slot snaps than Justin Jefferson since Jefferson entered the lineup in week 3. So they're both interchangeable. They both move all around. So I don't know if he's going to shadow at all today. I would just take the better players in this situation.
I like it. Dig, I'm going to stick with you for this one. Let's talk about Trevin. John Brown or Chase Claypool? Both difficult. Well, I would say John Brown's has gotten easier, even though we probably saw that Stephon Gilmore was probably going to shadow Stephon Diggs. He's out of this game, obviously. I highly doubt anyone shadows anyone in this contest, but which side are you leaning with here, Daigle?
I would go Claypool. I understand last week was frustrating, and perhaps it happens again because we know all 3 of these Steelers receivers will be on the field, but Ben will continue just taking what the defense gives him. So if the Ravens, like the Titans did last week, treat Claypool as the number 1 receiver, expect another big day for Deontay and Juju. But either way, you're starting Claypool because if not, we've seen what he can do on few targets too. So he's just a talent you want in your lineup, hoping the defense doesn't concertedly shut him down.
Nice. And I'm checking out our start-sit tool, which is up on the season-long tools on Rotoworld.com. Go to Rotoworld.com/edge to check that one out. And Chase Claypool has almost more than 2 points projected than John Brown. So they agree with you as well, John Daigle. Okay.
Great.
Let's move on.
That's how you
Sorry,
know.
Daigle. That's why you know that you should be confident. Hayden, over to you. I'm surprised you haven't gotten more Rashard Higgins questions because some might view him as the highest ceiling Cleveland Browns wide receiver at this moment, but that hasn't drawn a lot. But we're getting a lot of Chase Claypool and Sterling Shepard questions as well.
Rotopad, I know you're going to say it. There's some other guys that are going to be involved. It's not just Rashard Higgins. I think that he's easily the favorite, but you have Donovan Peoples-Jones. Is Kadarrell Hodge playing? I think he is.
I think he's active today, yeah.
Yeah, I think he is active. So I think that there's some more competition with Rashard Higgins that people are leading to believe. I think he's still like a wide receiver 4, but Chase Claypool is a wide receiver 3. Just the upside's so high. I think that every week you're going to see one Steelers receiver finish like a top 20 guy, one receiver finishes like a flex guy, and then the other receiver bust. I would like to take those chances with Chase Claypool, though.
I'll just say with Rashard Higgins, I don't know if the concept of ceiling really exists. And this was also the second time in 4 years I saw someone in the Rotoworld Dynasty League kind of empty the fab clip on Rashard Higgins, meaning it happened in the past and then he returned to waivers. So he's just one of those guys where you're not really going to ever pen fantasy weeks on him.
All right. Well, Pat, I'm going to put you in a difficult spot and ask you a flex question. Justin Jefferson or Boston Scott from Vinster76?
That is difficult. I mean, Justin Jefferson, 3 blow-up games in 4 weeks. I mean, kind of one of the hottest players in all of fantasy football. You just cannot, even though Boston Scott needed to almost his literal last touch to get his numbers in week 7, you just can't bench those touches against this Dallas Cowboys defense. It just would be fantasy malpractice. So you have to go with Boston Scott, even though he's a fill-in player.
Have any of you done any research on corners shadowing wide receivers? Like, would Jair Alexander shadow someone like Justin Jefferson this game, or would it be more Adam Thielen, or are they just like putting him to one side?
He has shadowed every game. He's only been thrown at 24 times all year. That's the issue. It's not that. I mean, he is shutting the receivers down, don't get me wrong, but coaches just aren't going his way when they see who he shadows. The thing is, like, I don't, unless Pat or Hayden, y'all have a lean, like, I really think it's a question mark. It's 50-50 here.
Yeah. It is 50-50. And Kirk Cousins is the kind of guy like, I'm going to throw 2 interceptions to Jair Alexander. Come on, man. Like, so that's a dumb answer. But
I do think that he will be on Adam Thielen, but
okay.
I'm no more than like 75% sure of that.
I may be incorrect. I believe someone like our old friend Ian Hardison might have tweeted too in the past that Jair Alexander hasn't like erased Adam Thielen in the past. But I shared that without remembering what the exact stat
That's
was.
fine. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to do that on the show. All right. M. Brian 719 to Hayden Winks, DeAndre Swift or Amari Cooper in half-point PPR.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift here. I think that he is the 1A in the committee. I think that he's getting all the high value touches. He's been involved near the goal line. He's getting all of the receiving work. I think that that game's actually one of the better games. The Titans and Lions. It's in a dome. You're going to get
Colts and Lions. Sorry to cut you off. Just don't want people to think you didn't know.
Yes, Colts and Lions. So I think that DeAndre Swift deserves to be like a top 14 running back, and I think that he's going to start widening the gap between him and AP.
It's okay. Cliff is focused on his bye week more. All right, let's move on over. Pat, running back 2 question here for J. Rob. Myles Gaskin against the Los Angeles Rams, a matchup we already talked about, or Lyndon Fournette with heavy favorites. The Bucs are on Monday Night Football by 12.5 points. And we've seen Lyndon Fournette eat into the passing down work, a little bit of the rushing work. Then Ronald Jones, who we thought had this backfield locked down, turns out he did not.
Yeah, at LSU, everyone knew Lyndon Fournette would be a future nickel back, which is apparently his role now for the Bucs. And with the implication being Ronald Jones still has the early down lead, will hopefully still be the first guy to get his number called in the red zone. I don't think any of us think this Bucs backfield is like case closed, and this just might continue to remain a headache. And Myles Gaskin, who he just successfully dispatched Jordan Howard before the Dolphins bye, back-to-back healthy scratches for Jordan Howard, and Myles Gaskin is just. Leonard Fournette's going to be at least 10 to 12 touches, but I think Myles Gaskin will probably be like at least 16 to 17. And I just think that Myles Gaskin has better enough usage that I'm going with him, even though I don't think Leonard Fournette's a great player. I don't know if Myles Gaskin is better than Leonard Fournette. I like Myles Gaskin's usage better still.
I'm going to create my own question here. You ready for this? We're going to pull up Pat's rankings. And Daigle, I'm going to ask you, because we have gotten 0 Le'Veon Bell questions here on this Sunday Week 8 edition of Rotoworld Live. Pat has Le'Veon Bell as, let me zoom in even tighter, as the running back 21 here. Daigle, do you think that's fair over the likes of Gus Edwards, Leonard Fournette, Joshua Kelly, Devin Singletary, which I'm sure hurt Pat to do, and behind the likes of DeAndre Swift, Dave Montgomery, Melvin Gordon, so on and so forth?
I think it's close. One of those you said, not Gus Edwards. Hold on, I'm looking here. It was Leonard Fournette. I would start over
Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell, yeah. But that's really the only one. It's in that range. And that's really not, to be honest, like not a testament to Le'Veon Bell perhaps getting 10 carries. And maybe he does explode on limited touches anyways. It's just a testament to how bad and how hard running back is this week, honestly, because there are few options after those RB2.
John, this is honestly, I think the worst, except for maybe end of season with injuries and stuff. This is maybe the worst week for running back I have ever seen. Just in terms of like key people not playing, so many, not just committees, but committees that we thought were settled, like no longer being settled, like the Chargers and the Bills and the Bucks. It is just a dire week at running back. So
we've said at points, I think it was like week 4, hey, tight ends suck. Hey, in week 8, running backs suck. When we're going to get to, quarterbacks and wide receivers stinking as well. I think it's inevitable this season at some point. All right. Let's go on over. Did we do this one yet? From Ben Vlam, T. Higgins or Amari Cooper, Hayden Winks? Which side? You've talked about these names already, I know.
This is tough. I have them both like on those like wide receiver 2-3 range. That's tough. I think I'm going to go with Amari Cooper. I think his floor might be a little lower, but I think that he's just like the better player in general. And I think that his volume is a little more secure than T. Higgins.
We trust the Nooch. We trust the Nooch.
Yes, we do. No, we do not. Can't wait to recap that Ben DiNucci performance on the Rotoworld Football Podcast Recap Show, which everyone can subscribe on their cell phones right now. It'll be there in time for your commute from your kitchen to your desk in the morning, recapping every single fantasy relevant player and game by Monday morning. Daigle, this one's to you. Joe Basile, we have to get in his question. He joins us each week. Start 2 in full point PPR. Josh Jacobs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Myles Gaskin, or James Conner. So which 2 are you sitting?
I am sitting Myles Gaskin and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If only because I do think that the Chiefs, with the highest implied team total, 34 points, so yes, Edwards-Helaire could be a part of that, but we know he will likely split even more time and reps and touches since he did so last week in Bell's first game. Jacobs, it's a miserable matchup. This is what we expected from Josh Jacobs through the first half of the year because the schedule showed us that it was miserable for him. However, he could still fall forward in this game for 2 touchdowns. So I'm just playing the touchdown upside here.
Pat, I like this question from Alex27K on Periscope. I'm scared of playing Gio Bernard becomes the Bengals offensive line. Somewhat understandable. Would you start Darrell Henderson, who's a strong play, or Deontay Johnson, who's a strong play over him?
Yeah, the Bengals are now 0 of 5 on week 1 starting offensive lineman for today. Left guard Michael Jordan, is it? Or is it Michael? Yeah, it's Michael Jordan. Had a non-COVID illness this morning, so they have 4 starters missing this game. But Gio, the Titans defense it's not a stay away unit. Gio Bernard is an every down player right now, and we really like the scoring environment in this game. I really like Darrell Henderson. There's not a ton. So, like, if you're really scared, there's not much daylight between Darrell Henderson and Giovanni Bernard. I would say that's a defensible gut call if you just don't trust Giovanni Bernard. But I kept Gio parked in the rankings just because of the scoring environment and his touch outlook.
I like
it. Just remember, it's always non-COVID illness and false positive. Always.
It's true. Good point. Yeah, no conspiracies.
Here is the Bengals starting offensive line. Left tackle Hakeem Adeniji. Left guard, it's not Michael Jordan anymore, Pat. It's someone else. Center Billy Price. Right guard Alex Redmond. Right tackle Fred Johnson. Good luck, Joe Burrow. Against a team that cannot rush the passer, who I think like the Steelers are averaging nearly 8 pressures per game, and the Titans, I think, combined have had like 43 pressures this season. I bet that's a get-right spot for that defensive line.
I'll make the Galaxy brain argument real quick for the Bengals offensive line. It is the classic, hard to see how it could be worse, and maybe they'll accidentally stumble into some unknown upside with some of these guys. That's the Galaxy brain argument for the Bengals offensive line today.
Keep being wrong until you're right. It's the it's the Rotoworld Ray. Okay, let's go to GoBird17 on Twitch. Carson Wentz or Lamar Jackson, Hayden. Thanks, guys.
I have Lamar Jackson and Carson Wentz both ranked highly. Carson Wentz has been balling out without any receivers. I think that he's a good long-term buy for the rest of the season as Jalen Reagan gets involved, Dallas Goddard's back, so on and so forth. But I think Lamar Jackson, I think this is a good week to get back on the train. I think that his knee issue is probably behind him coming off the bye, and his upside is just so much higher. So I think I'll go Lamar Jackson.
Daigle, do not blame you if you're a little biased for this one. And these are names that are popping up a lot right now. PJ Martino, Deontay Johnson, or Darrell Henderson in full point PPR.
I actually think it's Deontay Johnson. His floor is just so high in PPR. Every single game he's started and played nearly full, he has recorded a 30+% target share. He's clearly the number one option for that receiving core. So I just think he's going to be involved every single time he's healthy and starts the game.
Pat, earlier in the show, you discussed that Rashard Higgins and ceiling do not really coexist in the same universe. Well, what about T.Y. Hilton and ceiling? And if not, who has the better floor in this game? This one is from Ivan760.
I think T.Y. is unfortunately the answer to both still, which makes me feel like I'm taking crazy pills. But Rashard, I don't know, man. This is T.Y. Hilton. They're coming off the bye. Are they coming off bye? Maybe I'm making that.
Yes,
they are. Off bye. It's like now or never time. The usage has not ever completely gone away. I mean, Michael Pittman is coming back today. Maybe that's a concern, but I think maybe we'll finally get our AJ Green moment with T.Y. Hilton today. And I'm still betting on T.Y. Hilton one more time against a not great a defense that's been playing better, but a not great defense over Rashard Higgins again, where there's a hurricane bearing down on the city of Cleveland. It's the first time in history we have concerning changing weather patterns in this country.
To let you know where I'm at with T.Y. Hilton in an FFPC league, I am starting Tyler Johnson over T.Y. Hilton this week.
By the way, they go every time I hear hurricane, I can't not do stand back.
A little wrestling reference. Yeah,
there it is. All right,
Hurricane The Rock. Those are some of the best segments. YouTube them.
All right, let's keep it moving. With this one, this is a difficult spot. Brian719 Daigle, you just talked about your difficult position in FFPC league. Tevin Coleman or Latavius Murray in half point PPR.
It is actually Tevin Coleman for me, but I will tell you that I am much higher and I'm much more confident in Tevin Coleman than a lot of the industry. I think the educated guess is that Tevin Coleman, when healthy, will lead this backfield in touches as he did in week 2. Out-touched Jerick McKinnon 14-2 before he got injured. I think he returns. He clearly practiced all week, was activated off injured reserve. So I think we get 14-16 touches for Coleman as the lead back. Again, that's the minority opinion, so do whatever you want.
Hayden, let's circle back to Ben DiNucci. Play CeeDee Lamb or Joshua Kelly as my flex from Mr. W.S. Pratt.
Going back a few questions, I have an uncomfortable amount of T.Y. Hilton in DFS this week.
Now by about 3:07 Eastern time, we're gonna get some major messages from Slack by Hayden Winks saying what did I do with my life? You're gonna find me in the dumpster by tomorrow. I'm gonna have to move to somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Iowa. We love our Iowa listeners and viewers, but that's where Hayden Winks is headed this week.
I gotta use an opportunity to call out someone. John, we need you in the Slack chat this week, man. We need Daigle slacking.
Daigle's busy on Sunday, pushing Silva around, yelling, and I'll see what I can do. Let me try. That's a side note. Let me see what I can do.
Okay.
All right, back to the question. I will go with. Man, that's tough. I'll go Joshua Kelly. I think that he's the favorite for touches. He was even equally as involved in the passing game as Justin Jackson was last week, and he just had better usage overall. So I think that he's the 1A. Both of them are going to be projected for about the same though. It's tough.
Pat, another CeeDee Lamb question here. Here we go. Le'Veon Bell, CeeDee Lamb, or Beasley in my flex, half point PPR.
Man, I don't want to say Le'Veon Bell over CeeDee Lamb, but I guess I will. We beat the subject kind of today. I think Ben DiNucci is not someone who's going to have the luxury of avoiding slot targets. We're not going to get another 0 from CeeDee Lamb this week, but I'll go, the man on revenge mission, Le'Veon Bell, and at least 10 to 12 carries for Le'Veon Bell. And Andy Reid will be petty about this. He will get Le'Veon Bell a touchdown against Adam Gase, and I'll go with that over CeeDee Lamb, even though I don't want to bench CeeDee Lamb.
Do you ever look at names and think this? Who is this? This is an NFL player? That's what I did with Beasley. I thought it was DeMarcus Beasley, and then I had to go through your wide receiver rankings, Pat, and realize it's Cole Beasley that he's talking about, right? Am I missing someone else?
No, it's Cole.
Okay.
And to be clear, like we've been higher on Beasley the past 3 weeks because John Brown was out or clearly like not practicing but still active, whereas Brown practiced in full throughout the week. So I think Beasley like falls back a little bit this week too.
Thanks for saving my butt there. All right, Thrift Shop 25, Allen Robinson, Justin Jefferson, Robert Woods in full point PPR. Just one of these names. I mean, this is like a make or break week winning selection here. Cliff Kingsbury, what do you think?
Well, if this is what your sit starts are coming down to, that means you're probably looking pretty good this week. I'm going to go Allen Robinson. I think that there's no reason to doubt that he's playing at like basically full health. He can't pass a concussion protocol unless he is. I have Justin Jefferson ranked ahead of Adam Thielen for the first time this year, but he's still a boom bust wide receiver too. I think that Allen Robinson is seeing top 5 fantasy usage when healthy, so I can't fade that.
All right, we have 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Let's do 5 rapid fire questions. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Pat, which 49ers running back are you going to start?
Dear God. John.
No, hell, it's you, Pat. Go.
Not Jerick McKinnon. I had a hard time all week deciding between JaMychal Hasty and Tevin Coleman. Even though Tevin Coleman's one of my least favorite players in the NFL, I put Tevin Coleman ahead of JaMychal Hasty.
And honestly, like Hasty, if he gets like 3 touches, could outperform Tevin Coleman on 14. Having said that, I still think the answer is Tevin Coleman. Also, quick side note back to Cole Beasley. He has a rap album that's really bad. You should check it out just to laugh at him.
All right.
Continue.
Daigle, over to you. I mean, we just do not know how to do quick firing questions here. Grillo HDs, DeAndre Swift or Le'Veon Bell in full point PPR?
It's DeAndre Swift, very close, but the increased usage has done that weekly the past 2 games. I think we see it continue that way this week.
Over to you. You can take a little more longer on this one, Hayden. Matthew Stafford or Jimmy Garoppolo?
This is close again. I think I might go Jimmy G. I think the game environment's going to be pretty awesome, and he's got Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle ready to go. I think there's reason to believe that with Ugo Amadi out, Shaq Griffin out, Jamal Adams out on the Seahawks, that Jimmy G's probably going to have his best game of the year.
SD Giants, Hollywood Brown with sketchy weather or Gio Bernard, Pat? Which side are you leaning?
You got to bank the running back touches.
This win, I mean, it won't matter for like Bernard 2-yard catches. Like he still has a high floor, and it's not a committee. Travion Williams isn't getting touches. So
also the other thing with weather is just because a guy that was being targeted deep previously in a bad weather game, the coach could just say, "Look, we're not going to send you on deep routes. Now you're just going to catch slants," and that he can actually make up for it.
That is a Henry Ruggs subtweet.
Exactly.
That's for you, Josh.
Yeah, thank you. That's why this is my prayer. This is how I pray. All right, let's go on over to John Daigle, Charlie Boats on Periscope, Preston Williams, or Jalen Reagor. Difficult spot here for Charlie.
I would actually take Reagor in this situation because Tua is another question mark. We don't know who he'll favor. We don't know what Jalen Ramsey will do, who they are deploying all over the field as well, not even shadowing, just sending him wherever they think is the strongest point for every packaged play. So I like Jalen Reagor.
All right, we will close with this one, Pat, because it's the most difficult.
Oh my
Katula
Lord.
J on Twitch, Mecole Hardman, Tim Patrick, or Denzel Mims in half-point PPR. Am I crazy to say that you can lean on Tim Patrick here in this spot?
Well, I believe the tea leaves suggest that Tim Patrick will not play. Am I correct there?
Yeah, hamstring.
So, yeah, I'd rather bet on the player Evan Silva called Kenny Galladay clone, Denzel Mims over Mecole, even though Mecole is my boy. Jamison Crowder not playing, Brashad Perriman not playing. Someone's got to get some targets for the New York football Jets, and I would go Denzel Mims.
All right. That's going to end it for us this week. I mean, week 8 was an absolute blur. As always, you guys crush it. You make my job very easy where I just read the questions, say them to you, and then I get us out of here. And I'm going to get us out of here right now. Again, you can check out all of our blurbs for every single fantasy relevant player on the front page of Rotoworld. Go and check out Pat's rankings. If you have a few more questions in the next 16 minutes ahead of kickoff, I'll be back with John Daigle for the Waiver Wire podcast on Tuesday morning, Rotoworld Football podcast feed, and we'll have a game-by-game recap show on Monday morning as well. Plus, at the end of Monday Night Football, check out Hayden Winks' fantasy usage model. I cannot recommend it enough. So, for Patrick Doherty, for Hayden Winks, for John Daigle, I am Josh Norris, still up the villa. Talk to y'all soon.